Alright, so Blizzard versus Frozen Orb. I'll give you guys some facts, some numbers, and some small demonstrations to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So let's start with the facts. Blizzard has 3 synergies: Ice Bolt, Ice Blast, and Glacial Spike. A point into each one of these will increase Blizzard's damage by 5%, so you want to max all 3 of these, plus obviously Blizzard. You also want to put a single point into Cold Mastery or max it as of now. Cold Mastery is penetrating cold immunities, and nobody really knows if this is a bug or if this was intended, so it may or may not get removed. So you choose whether you want to put a single point into this or max it. I've put a single point into it and then chosen to max out my synergies first. So that being said, if you max all 4 of these, you're left with very little points at end level to be able to put into Fireball or Meteor or whatever else you want as a secondary tree, right? As a dual spec. So that's the drawback to Blizzard. While it is doing a lot of damage, if you choose to do dual specking, you will have very little points to work with, unless you take away some points from the synergies and put them into whatever else you want. But if you do that, obviously Blizzard will suffer and it will do a lot less damage. So when you cast Blizzard, it falls into 28 shards, and those shards are cast into 3 different rows. So the rows are going to be like this, and between each one of these 3 rows, there's going to be 2 rows that are not getting hit at all. Also, on the rows that the shards are falling, some spots will get hit twice, some spots may not get hit at all. So because of that, Blizzard is not that great versus small single targets. They could walk through these rows that are not getting hit, or the spots that are not getting hit, and not get affected by Blizzard at all. At the same time, versus larger targets like bosses, Blizzard is great, even though sometimes they can also not get hit in some of these spots. So another positive thing about Blizzard is that you can cast it as far as, you know, you can see the edge of the screen. That's really good for cheesing strategies, and I'm going to show you a demonstration of that as well. At the moment, my Blizzard is doing about 5k damage. I'm showing you this because I will respec into Frozen Orb, and I want to show you exactly how much Frozen Orb is doing with the same gear that I have on right now. Frozen Orb has only one synergy, and that is Ice Bolt. It gives it 2% extra damage per point into Ice Bolt. That means that you only have to max 2 skills, and you are good on the cold tree. 1 point in the Cold Mastery or max it, you could choose. And then you're left over with a lot more points to dual spec. I was able to put to max out Fireball, Fire Mastery, and put some more points into Firebolt, leaving Fireball doing about 3k damage, which is a very good amount. So Frozen Orb is going to be shooting 44 to 46 Ice Bolts per Frozen Orb, and that is in 360 degrees. So as you can see, it spins around, and as it spins, it shoots Ice Bolts in 360 degrees. At the end, it does a massive explosion, and it explodes into 16 different bolts. So this is good for single targets, but you have to remember that the most damage is going to be at the explosion. So you're trying to get close to the enemy, close enough to where you want this ball to explode exactly in the middle, so all 16 bolts ideally hit one enemy, that single enemy, for that being the boss, for example. And again, I'm going to demonstrate this for you at Mephisto. So that being said, you have to be a lot closer. It is more dangerous that way, and in most cases it's not going to be easy to hit that ball exactly in the middle of the enemy to where every one of those bolts hit. Ideally you want to get it, you know, all 16 bolts to hit it, but that is not impossible, but very difficult to do, and you will not be able to do it every single time. Also, as the ball is traveling, so we're talking about perfect scenarios here. As the ball travels, it sends out about 3 bolts in that direction, right? So because it spins, it's going to be sending different bolts in different directions. But let's say you are aiming for a boss that's standing right in front of you. As the ball travels, it will shoot 3 bolts in its direction and then explode into 16 bolts. So if you do it perfectly, where the ball explodes in the middle of the boss, all 16 bolts will hit, plus the 3 bolts traveling. That is 19 bolts of the 44 to 46 bolts. Alright, so this is going to be Blizzard demonstration in the cow level on hell difficulty. You can see the speed at which Blizzard is killing the cows. So now I'm going to demonstrate the Frozen Orb in the cow level, and if we get a mass group of cows, you can see that I am hitting Frozen Orb, but compared to Blizzard, it is a lot more difficult to kill the cows. And that is because the bolts do not penetrate the cows, right? They don't penetrate the enemies. And that is very, very important here. You can see how much longer it's taking me to actually kill some cows in a mass group with Frozen Orb. So as you saw, the difference between Frozen Orb and Blizzard in the cow level is massive. Blizzard is hands down the winner when it comes to large groups of enemies. Frozen Orb, while it can do a lot of damage, it just cannot penetrate. The bolts cannot penetrate each enemy and hit the enemy behind that enemy. So they end up blocking for each other, and therefore a lot of the damage gets spread out between each one of the enemies, and it just makes things a lot slower. Can it be done? Absolutely yes. But there is no question about it. Blizzard definitely wins when it comes to larger groups of enemies. The cheese strategy is exactly what I did here. You teleport, you get his attention, and you just jump here. And some people may call it the moat strategy. And you will stand right here next to this skull right here, because if you step a little forward, he will be able to hit you. So this is the best spot right here. You stand in this spot, and you can cast Blizzard from here, and he will just sit there and take it, and it just easy, and there's no danger to dying, right? Now I will show you the same demonstration with the cheesing strategy that I did with Blizzard for Frozen Orb. And I'm just gonna drag him this way, teleport this way, and step right here next to this head. And as you can see, some of the bolts are hitting him, but this is nothing like it was with Blizzard, right? This will take forever to kill, and it just does not make sense to do it this way. If you're using Frozen Orb, this strategy, while it's doable, it is just very, very ineffective. So you have to get close and personal, and as you can see, he is a running target, so it's a lot more difficult than you'd imagine to be able to actually hit the perfect Frozen Orb right in the middle to where all 16 bolts on explosion hit him. So versus single targets, it is doing good damage. It's not bad. You have to get the orb through the enemy, and again, you have to get very close to them, or at least semi-close to them, for it to be effective, because you're trying to get the orb, if not perfectly exploding in the middle of the enemy, at least to go through the enemy. Another cheesy strategy is at the Ancients, for example. I'm not doing that because it just takes way too much time to set it up correctly. So I'm just going to show you here a small demonstration. Pretend this is a pillar at the Ancients, and pretend that Maddock, the ranged, the axe thrower barbarian, is on the other side of the pillar. You set it up that way. You get him on one side, then you stand on the other side of the pillar, and he targets you, and he starts hitting the pillar with the axes instead of you. They can't penetrate the pillar. And if you have Blizzard, you could cast it to the side, and if he's standing right there, Blizzard is going to be able to hit him. And now the same strategy with Frozen Orb. Maddock is standing right there. This is the pillar. This is you. You could technically shoot the Frozen Orb this way, and some of the bolts will hit him. But this will just take so long to be able to kill him that it is just not worth it. And yeah, the most damage you're gonna do with Frozen Orb is, like I said with Mephisto, if you can get it through the enemy, for the orb to travel at least through the enemy. Best case scenario, explode exactly in the middle of the enemy, so all 16 bolts can hit them. So if you're trying to cheese enemies this way, sure, it could technically be done, but it will just take so long that it's just not worth it. Compared to Blizzard, strategies like this are not worth it. Alright, so my Frozen Orb is doing 548 to 575 damage right now with the same exact gear that I was wearing when I had Blizzard. And to just to put it in perspective, let's do some simple math. 575, let's take the highest number and then multiply that by 19. That is best case scenario if you can get all 19 bolts to hit one enemy. The 3 bolts traveling in the direction of the enemy before the orb blows up, and then if you can blow up the orb exactly in the middle of the enemy and get all those 16 bolts to hit it at the same time, that would be 575, right, times 19, the 19 bolts, and that's 10,925. Roughly, let's just say 11,000 damage. Best case scenario with Frozen Orb with the gear that I'm wearing right now. And in contrast, Blizzard was doing 5,000 damage per shard, right? So if 2 shards hit it, that is doing the same exact damage that Frozen Orb is doing with the best case scenario here. So Blizzard is going to hit a lot more than 2 times usually. So Blizzard will end up doing more damage than Frozen Orb. Alright, so both Blizzard and Frozen Orb are very strong skills. They're very fun to play, and you can use both of them in Hell. So you guys have to decide for yourselves. I gave you the information, I gave you some numbers, some demonstrations, and yeah, you guys have to figure out what playstyle you want to go for. So try it out for yourselves, and let me know in the comments. I'm actually really interested to know what you guys prefer, whether that's Frozen Orb or Blizzard, and let me know why. I'm really actually curious to know what most people are preferring these days. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. Good luck, have fun, and thank you for watching.